Good morning. It's Congressman Jamie Raskin. It is Friday, August 16th. I'm sending my best regards to everybody across Maryland's beautiful 8th Congressional District, across the state of Maryland, across the country. We're tuning in for my favorite time of the week, Local Hero, when we get to salute the people who are making life so wonderful and so rich in Maryland's 8th District and across the Free State. I'm saluting a local hero today who is a good friend of mine, is somebody in public life who I've known for probably most of my life now, who's done such a remarkable job for us as a public servant. He's the former governor of Maryland. He took office in January of 2017 when I got elected no, I'm sorry, it was 2000.
Boy, the time flies,
When I
doesn't it,
got
Jamie? The
elected.
time flies.
It does. Wow. It was 2007 when I got elected in the state senate. And I remember those years so fondly. He was governor for 2 terms, 2000 to 2015, following 2 terms as mayor of the great city of Baltimore. He was a member of the Baltimore City Council. He worked in the state's attorney's office as a prosecutor. Before that, he's been an amazing pioneer of performance management and customer service technologies at every level of government where he served, local, state, and federal. I want to welcome my friend Martin O'Malley, who is now the commissioner of the Social Security Administration. President Biden named him that, and he was confirmed by the Senate in December of last year. And he's been doing great performance-based stuff at Social Security. My office works with him all the time in order to get people into the Social Security system when it's time to do that, and to make sure that everybody's getting the checks that they've earned. And Governor O'Malley, we want to salute you as our local hero, because Maryland and the 8th District are part of the country, and you're doing heroic work for all of us on this week, the 89th anniversary of Social Security. So welcome.
Thank you. It's awesome to be with you again. Recollecting on that time we had in the state of Maryland. I mean, it was always you and Brian Frosch. I forget who was lead and who was support, but it seemed like very frequently you all would roll into my office shortly before you went out on the floor to fight for really important things, whether it was marriage equality or repealing the death penalty or gun safety legislation. I enjoyed so much working with you then, Jamie, and we're also proud of you now and the job you're doing for not only representing the people of the 8th, where I do believe, I think I grew up in the 8th, right? Bethesda.
You certainly did.
Rockville.
You certainly did.
I know these borders change, but I do believe that the log cabin I grew up in was in the 8th District. But we're very proud of what you're doing. And I've had a blast doing this job that the president asked me to do. I didn't lobby for it. I didn't imagine it. In fact, the next morning I said to Katie O'Malley, I had the strangest dream last night that I was in the international food aisle of our local York Road Giant, and the White House called and asked me if I'd go run Social Security. And Katie O'Malley said, not a dream. You told me that when you came home with the groceries. So it's an exciting time. We are serving now in this anniversary week of Social Security's birth. We had a little party at the White House this week on the anniversary, which of the signing by Franklin Delano Roosevelt was August 14th, with Francis Perkins, his labor secretary, standing right over his shoulder. And right now, even as we speak, Social Security is serving more customers than ever, with fewer staff than we've had in 50 years. So I know, in working with the good people in your office, that your citizens, your constituents in the 8th call you and say, hey, help me get through to Social Security. Generally, once you get through, you have a good experience. But because our staffing has been reduced to a 50-year low by some in Congress, current company accepted, it's a real struggle to keep up with that growing volume of customers with ever-shrinking staff. But we're doing it, and it's exciting. And I'm so proud of the way this whole senior executive service has responded to something we call security stat. I don't know if you can see my little sticker there.
Yes, indeed.
So we get together every 2 weeks, just like we had state stat to improve the health of the Chesapeake Bay or transportation. So we get together every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks at the national headquarters, which is in Baltimore, Maryland, on Security Boulevard, hence the name, Security Boulevard. And so it's exciting. We've been able to wrestle the wait time on the 800 number. We've been able to cut that in half so far, and I look to cut it in half again. It was 42 and a half minutes, sometimes longer, depending on when you call. We've wrestled that down to 24 minutes, and we're looking to cut that in half again in the months ahead. And as you and I have often discussed.
On that point, I mean, are there certain things people are calling in about that don't relate to an individual problem that are just general FAQ things that you can help to educate people on?
Yeah, we have actually a fairly decent website as these things get scored and ranked with a lot of the FAQs. A lot of this comes down to very personal stuff, though, Congressman. It's, I need to change my bank account because I got hacked, or I want to withhold more out of my monthly benefit so I don't get jammed up at the end of the year owing more in taxes. So a lot of these things, or sadly, my husband died. I want to make sure I get through to somebody and have you cut off the checks. I want to apply for my survivor benefit. So this agency touches so many people, 74 million and rising, and in very personal and real ways. From the moment of birth until after someone passes, and they're survivors. So it's a lot of personal things. Sometimes, like in October with the COLA, we'll get a lot of calls asking us to calculate what the cost of living increase will be on their benefit.
Yeah. I know even with all of that, even with more than 70 million people being covered and everybody touching the Social Security system, and it's not just older people, it's also people with disabilities and survivors and so on. With all of that, still the administrative overhead expense is less than 1%. I mean, it's remarkable, right? How cheap it is.
Yeah, it really is. We've when we operated well before Congress started ratcheting down and reducing our staff to a 50-year low, this agency operated on 1.2% overhead for the benefits paid. If you compare that to Allstate is 19% for the benefits paid. Liberty Mutual, Liberty is 23%. So when we operated at 1.2%, we operated at a high level of customer service, and it was the most efficient insurance company in the free world. Now that
look, my constituents feel generally satisfied with Social Security when they get through. It's the wait time.
That's right, and that's generally what I hear. And some of our people, do get cranky. They do get sad that they can't deliver as quickly for people as they'd like. But by and large, that's what I hear, is what you're hearing from your people. Once I got through, I had a good experience.
The other big question we get is it going to be solvent? I mean, we know there's a political effort to try to get people to withdraw their support for Social Security. It's not going to be there for you. It's a ripoff for younger people. Will you give us your perspective on that whole thing?
Sure. And you have a great national asset in the 8th District, and Nancy Altman, who runs Social Security Works and is on a presidentially nominated and confirmed member of the advisory board. She wrote a great book. If your people listening to this want to see it, it's called Social Security Works, and lays out in very plain language. A lot of those arguments that people are making today are arguments that they were making 89 years ago when Social Security first came about. That eventually it'll go bust. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's insolvent. It's going to go bankrupt. So I am glad to tell you unequivocally that Social Security is not going to go bankrupt. It is not going to go insolvent or bust in any of the ways you or I would understand that word to mean, totally run out of money. But it is true to say that if Congress does not adjust its now 50-year-old assumptions from 1983, we will face a shortfall in benefits of 17% by 2035. So the question becomes, what do we do about it? You do what any family or family-owned business would do, which is you start getting more revenue in. If you're told you're going to have a shortfall in 2035, you get more revenue in order to avoid that shortfall. And there are many bills that have been put in Congress that actually accomplish this in a straightforward way. One of the things that a lot of us don't understand, I didn't understand until, well, I probably understood at one time, but I had forgotten, is this. We only pay into Social Security on the first $168,000 of income that we earn, which means every dollar above 168,000, it's pegged to inflation, so it adjusts every year. So every dollar above that 168,000, none of it pays anything into Social Security, which means that people like Warren Buffett are done paying into Social Security about 20 seconds after midnight, while most of us work hard all year and pay that bit in for FICA. So the most straightforward way that many have suggested of solving this is to ask people like Warren Buffett to start paying their income into Social Security, the earned income as well as the investment income. Once they get, President Biden's parameter, I think, was once they get above 400,000. Others have said, dollars at a lesser level, but this is a totally solvable problem. Social Security is not going to go bankrupt, because the beauty of this system in its simplicity is that so long as Americans work to earn a living, benefits will continue to be paid, because it is a pay-as-you-go system that we pay into and then we're paid out of.
Well, and Nancy Altman has been on that for a long time about the necessity of lifting the cap, which makes it a regressive tax, because Warren Buffett is paying exactly what a lot of my constituents are paying, who are government servants or doctors or lawyers or so on, and we can go a long way to guaranteeing the solvency of Social Security by doing that. And I do want to say a word about Nancy, because she's always there when I've got questions about Social Security. And her sister-in-law, of course, is another great 8th District resident, Linda Carter, superwoman. And Nancy's kind of like the superwoman of Social Security, who's really devoted her life to understanding and improving and fortifying it. And I'm glad that you're working with her in so many different ways. Tell us, if you would, before you go, Governor O'Malley, everybody loves your family, Katie, your kids, Grace, Tara, William, Jack. You guys are true Marylanders. How do you like this new position working in the federal government? And not having to run for office all the time?
I love it. Katie was there at the confirmation hearing shortly before Christmas, and she said, "Man, I've never seen you smile as broadly as when they asked you, would you ever run for office again? And you said no." So I love this. So I overheard someone asking her, "How does Martin like his new job?" And she goes, "I'll tell you what. He goes off every morning at the crack of dawn in his little suit with his little backpack over his shoulder. He loves it." I said, "Do I really wear a little suit?" She said, "Well, you're like a little boy. You're all excited. You go out." I drive 21 minutes across Northern Parkway, Jamie, to go to the national headquarters of the Social Security Administration of the United States, where I get to serve 74 million people every day. And if I can make it 1% better, that's a lot of people. It's at such a scale, and it's at such a challenging time now. And as you know, some of us love challenges, and I'm really loving this one. I feel like we're making a difference, and I'm enjoying every day of it. And I know that we're going to look back on these days for Social Security as both the tough days and also the most important days.
Well, it's the coolest thing in the world to see you in that job, and you are excelling, and you're shining. We are here for you, and we know you are there for us and for our constituents. And it always makes me real happy to know that we've got friends in the Social Security Administration. So for all these reasons, the great Governor and Administrator Martin O'Malley, we salute you as our local hero this week.
Thank you. I accept your nomination. Thanks a lot, Jamie, for the good work you do. Keep going, man. We're counting on you.
All right. All best to you and the family.